That was a Plum with Stranded. This is the Get Your Home Show. My name is Andy B. Hello and welcome. This is, well, it's just gone past 5 on Thursday, the 28th of May, 2026. 4/5 through the week, people. Well done. Keep going. More music coming up yet, including 3 for 3, National Days, birthdays, and the Showstopper Challenge at the end of today's show. But it's a Thursday. We've gone past 5 o'clock, which means I get to say hello to somebody I've spoken to probably more than any other person on radio in the last 3 years. Hello, Anne Laure Jackson of Sante on Jersey.
Hello, it is great to be here again. What a lovely thing. It's just like, oh, that's nice.
It is one of those crazy things because we met about 5 years ago through email because one of my lads was asking a question. They says, oh, ask Anne, her kids have been through this same question about careers and stuff. So we got in touch with you and that's where it went. I know locked in my head was, something to do with sensory health. That sounds interesting. Oh, well, on we go. And then we started the station. I was thinking, what are we going to do? I'd like some regular guests. And your name kept on coming into my head. So we had a few chats about it. And then you started. And we've done more than 100 conversations on the topic of sensory health.
Isn't it wonderful? Just for me to have the opportunity to talk about something that I've been passionate about for 30 years now, more. And then to have a forum to be able to talk about it, to help people, to give people some insight, some understanding, and then really help those who would get in contact as a result after that.
And hopefully make their lives a bit better because I learned stuff. I mean, let's just start right at the very beginning of the basis before we get into today. I started these talks in September 23, knowing that there were maybe 5 senses. Couldn't tell you what they were. I think there's 4 or 5, probably 5 senses. That's where it began. But now I can happily trot out, but not the names, that there are 5 senses. There's an extra 2, and there's another one, which is actually a whole group of senses. Now, I didn't know that 3 years ago, which just goes to show every day is a learning day.
It is a learning day. And anything that I can, impart to somebody today, I'm well up for that. We'll see what comes out.
Now, because of a conversation we had before we started doing the live bit, you said you'd had a haircut and it was a good sensory healthy experience, which I thought would be a good topic for the day. I don't plan this bit because I like it off the cuff because otherwise it's scripted and that's a bit boring. It's fine, but it's not me. So I remember watching something about a particular hairdresser who had a real heart and I suppose a gifting. He was a normal kind of chap's haircut guy, and he did a thing where people who had autism or ADHD or something like that were sitting still while someone places a sharp pair of clicking scissors on your head, or worse, a vibrating machine on your head. That's not going to happen. It's just not. And so parents were obviously struggling, and it's something he's done, and I believe he's still doing it, although I can't remember his name or where he is. But he'll do haircuts, but he takes the time not to just sit down, cape on, let's do your hair. No, he actually does whatever is necessary to help the poor person who really can't cope with that stuff going on to be ready in order to have a haircut. I would assume, having spoken to you for 3 years, taking plenty of pauses and gaps, getting them used to the feel of the thing, not just bashing their head and off you go, being especially careful to make sure he's not rushing it and hitting a sore spot or an actual spot or digging the things in and lots of little things. But you mentioning about haircuts, it did remind me because I love having my haircut. Jo does it. She's done it for years, nearly 25 years now. And she uses an electric shaver. And I love that moment of just, there's something relaxing about the little vibrating machine on my head. It just feels great.
It does for so many of us, and others that vibrating stuff is a nightmare. So yeah, there's definitely different ways of doing things. And I'd love to actually be able to help any hairdressers that want to know different ways of doing things and how to help some of their individuals who come in, whether it be the children or the adults, of different ways of doing things so that we can actually get a haircut done. Because those who are, the main ones will be those who are tactile over responsive. So they're really sensitive to the different experiences on their skin and especially on their scalp. So we really do have to watch the vibration and how you touch the hair and, the kind of pressure that you put on the head and things you can do to set up the sensory system first so they don't lose it or have a meltdown or just want to leave as soon as you go anywhere near their head.
As I say, like a haircut. I've never ever tried one of those chairs that you can sit in that massages you. You see them at airports or some shopping centres, and you can, put £3 or whatever it is. You sit down and the thing vibrates or whatever. It's supposed to be good for you or relaxing. I've never tried that because I just think how many hundreds of people have put their butts on that chair? No, thank you. But hairdressing, whole different thing. I don't remember the last time I actually went to a hairdresser, years and years ago, because I've always had short hair because I was trucking. There was no point in having anything fancy. I was always wearing a hard hat, so there's no point. I'm mucky, I'm dirty, a hard hat. Just shave it off as much as possible, and that's what Joe's done for the last 25 plus years. But I quite like having my hair short because I don't like the faffing about with trying to mousse it and gel it and all that stuff. Which, if you love that, that's fine. At this stage in my life, I'm quite content getting up in the morning and looking fine because my hair is nice and neat because I haven't got to do anything to it. That may not be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, well, actually, it's quite funny that in the hairdressers, and I have to do a shout out to Spandida. If you're listening, I said I'd give them a mention. They're in town here, but it was 5 months ago since I last went. I asked her this morning, dear Anna, I said, when was the last time I was here? She's like, 5 months. So I am not a regular hair goer, a hairdresser goer, whatever the word might be. But I was really touched by something that happened today because it's particularly hot here at the moment, as I think it is across most of Europe in particular. And there was a comment, I just overheard it as I was coming in, but it was about the combination of when to have the door open and when to put the air conditioning on. And there was a real sensitivity in the salon, because if you've got cold hair, having particularly cold air conditioning, it's not that pleasant. So that they decided to keep the door open while folks' hair were cold, and there were just a few of us in there, so it wasn't as if there was a whole range of different people. It was the wet hair, and there was that. If I've understood it rightly, anyway, that they wouldn't put the air conditioning on until the hair had been dried, so that folks wouldn't get cold. And even when I went to sit down, she actually asked if I was cold, and I said no because I had my cape on and it was just then the right level. And at that point, they'd shut the door and put the air conditioning on. But I thought that is tactile processing. That's a real awareness of sensory health. So it was a beautiful thing. And it's those little things that we keep coming back to because it is so important. Those little considerations that just upgrade the quality of an experience, and therefore it's something apart from the good coffee that's amazing coffee. But yeah, I'll be going back. I'm really pleased with the cut, really pleased with the environment, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the courtesy, the consideration. Really nice for customer service. Oh, we can have sensory healthy customer service. But yeah, hairdressing is so many facets involved with sensory processing.
Your 5 months, I don't know how many years it is that Jo goes to haircut. She just doesn't. I remember one time she hadn't been for a few years because she just likes to grow it out and she looks after her hair and it's fine. And the hairdresser says, oh, wow, your hair's amazing. Tell me all the different products that you use. And Jo said, shampoo. No, you must have conditioners and all these, conditioner. That's about it. She really doesn't do anything to hair apart from wash it well with shampoo and conditioner. And it's like really simple, natural stuff. But the hairdresser thought, well, she must be doing all these amazing things for her hair to be in this massively high quality. So she said, I just wash it when it gets dirty and I use conditioner because she's not putting lots of stuff in it. Therefore, she doesn't need lots of stuff to treat the stuff that goes in that could be causing other problems. So it's not something that Jo's ever had, but it's just funny when she does go. It's like how many weeks ago? No, how many months? How many years for Jo? Everyone thinks she looks great. Her hair looks wonderful, but she doesn't put lots of stuff in it because why? Would she want to? She doesn't want to. She likes natural hair. And it's great, but it's interesting how we all have different perspectives. Smells, in particular, can be very, very difficult. It can be very pleasant. We don't have perfume in the house because we can't go to perfume. Three of my sons, well, they're all basically allergic to perfume, which nearly half the population is. So we avoid perfumes at all costs. But of course, if you're in a hairdresser, it's going to be all sorts of. I mean, this could be 10 weeks worth of sensory healthy conversation. Smells, liquid, temperature, position in the chair, the comfort of the seating. What's the angle? The sink thing that.
Backwards space is a nightmare for my vestibular people. So vestibular, for those who haven't heard of that word before, that's the way that our head is positioned in space. So naturally, we're designed, we stand upright. And so moving backwards is a very frightening experience for those who their vestibular system isn't well integrated. It's not great for the most of us anyway. But for those with vestibular issues, tilting the head back to get your hair washed, that's like, oh man, can we do a different way of actually hair washing for some of those people? Otherwise, they're on high alert with that experience if they will actually even do it in the first place. And then for those vestibular people also, you've got an issue if you've got those chairs that move up and down, which is brilliant for the hairdresser's back, but not great if you don't like that vestibular sensation of moving up and down in space. And then you've got the vestibular seekers who might be like spinning in the chairs too. And that's like, so what the seating in a hairdresser's in a salon is really important too, and how you manage it. So I often say that thankfully they do put footrests, which is great, so that you can have your feet supported so that your legs aren't dangling, because that's not a pleasant experience. It's too much input into your proprioceptors. So if people have footrests, they're just a little tip for anyone who's listening who happens to have a hair salon, that if you've got one of those whizzy up and down chairs for height differences, then if you know somebody who doesn't like that, then set the chair at the height that you need and get them to climb up on it. Use the little footstools, use something else so that they are positioned at a height that they are happy with, rather than adjusting the height once they are seated.
I think in my life, only once that I remember did I go to, it was actually a woman's hairdresser, Joe, before, when we were dating, said, I'll get your hair cut. The lovely hairdresser. She took me to this lady's hairdresser, and it was a very nice experience. I wasn't used to, coffee and biscuits. Like, what? You don't get a drink of water at a bloke's one normally. Very polite. Wasn't used to that. Sit down when you're ready. And the one thing I did not like is I wanted to wash my hair, and I was backwards, which is the most bizarre position, because whenever in the world do you hop in a shower or bath and crane your neck back really hard and then wash it? You just don't. So even if you don't have many issues, it's not a common situation in order for you to have your hair cut. If you go camping with your kids, they lean forwards, you pour water, the shampoo goes on, more water. They're leaning forwards, which is a natural position, not so much backwards. Because then you're thinking, oh, this chair's, is it going to take me away? Is it all right? What happens if it goes a bit further and I crap my head on the sink? And that's what goes through my head.
I'd say that the one I was really chuffed, the one today, the actual angle of the seat was quite nice, so that you didn't feel as though you were like kind of hyperextending your neck. There was a much more of a slant between how you sit, and it was much more like a leaning back. And the sink is at just the right position so that your head, isn't doing all funny contortions at the end of where the chair finishes and the sink finishes. So much involved, and a deep touch pressure. I have to give another little tip because that's what we're here for, isn't it? Applying. I remember chatting about this in Northern Ireland. Actually, one of the hairdressers actually said she would gift me a one of those pads that you can put round. I don't know if you have it in your men's places. It's a weighted. You don't have anything, not even a glass of water. I believe things might be changing. I don't know. But a weighted thing that you put around your shoulders, so that gives that extra deep touch pressure, which is more calming if you're getting other things done around your head. That's just if you have one of those weighted things, it's a nice thing, and you can also put them on people's laps if that helps calm some people as well. Just a little tip there.
And since we are a radio station, the appropriate music would be good. If you're trying to create a nice, gentle tone, heavy metal music, as much as I like it, and I know Al wants to be a heavy metal singer, it's true, there's an outtake of that one. I think we used it as well. But actually, that may not be the best scenario for women in their 70s and 80s who like a more serene experience. However, if it's a biker bar, great, crank it up. But, context, read the room, basically. And you can play different things, or just play pure 24/7 radio, and we'll do the mix for you. Just saying.
That was brilliant. Yeah, no, I think you could have different music because your auditory aspects of the whole thing. You could have, like, the same way you have in your supermarkets, you have your quiet times or whatever. You could choose to change the sensory environment of your salon for 1 hour a week. You could play, if you want to be targeting the kiddies or whatever, then you choose the music accordingly, and you might change the lights. You could change, just again, explore the sensory environment of things things of how they can move in the salon, what they can do, the sights, the sounds, the smells, touch experiences, and orchestrate it, plan it, prepare it for the sensory needs of your age group, of your clientele, and make it a little more personalized, and see if that helps increase profits. I'm always there to help other businesses succeed.
But so often we think, oh, what's this really multifaceted, complex, multi-stage thing that we can do that can fix everything, and we'll be making, shut the door, turn the radio down, glass of water. We don't, so many of the things that we can make such massive differences. Smiling at somebody, which is free. Would you like to come and sit down? It's different from come and sit down. Now you're putting choice back into them. It's these little teeny tiny things that can make a difference in the experience. So when someone walks through the door, it's not ignored, but greeted, but not aggressively so. We don't want to be pounced on. Thanks very much. But there's so many little things that we can do, even down to making sure that, like you said, the seat height is appropriate for them. I remember there was a hairdresser I used for a period of time when I was living in a city, and before Joe started doing my hair. And I remember this one because it was a good. They were good lads. It was a good price. You got on with it, and you got in, and they would whack the chair up to where they wanted it to do. They'd throw a thing on you. They'd rattle through so fast. It was impressive. And then they'd start squirting you with this powder stuff. Then the razor blade thing came out, so they could do a really close thing, and it was quick. And you could go with 5 or 6 people. You wouldn't worry because you'd be done in half an hour. You'd be out again. But sometimes I just thought, could you slow down just a teeny tiny bit with that razor blade? Like an open blade. It's like, could you just slow down, because I'm now panicking of if I flinch, I'm now in hospital. I would like to avoid that. And they didn't tell you what they were doing. There's always an expectation, which I think is common, that the next stage because they've just done 40 in that day. But if you're only going one every 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or whatever it is, 18 weeks, I think, if I get this right, I think women on average is every 6 weeks and men go every 18 weeks. That's an average around sort of UK, I think. Which, yeah, whatever.
How do you know that, Mr. V? It's like
I'm just full of random facts. Honestly, my head, if any scientists want to look at my brain when I'm dead, it's fascinating the amount of rubbish in there. It's just random. But I just remember reading something about the average times that a woman or a man will have a haircut, and they're very different. Right. Depending on your gender, men get haircut more bigger times in between, and women more frequently. And it's one of those that if you're not used to it, even if it's their 50th haircut of the day, it's your first in 6 months or 3 months or 5 months or what have you. And actually, it is nice to know what's coming next.
And it was quite funny today, because it's a new salon that I'm going to, and the lady doing my hair, like doing the actual washing bit, she was so smiley, she was so cheery. It was a pleasure. But she said, "Oh, come this way." And they actually have these barriers when you first approach the sink. They've got these barriers to make it nice and private, which is absolutely lovely. But I didn't know which way to go because I didn't know which way you actually got in to get my haircut. So I followed her around, and she said, "Well, if you want to wash my hair, you come this way." But she says, if you want to have your hair washed, I would go around the other side. So we just had a bit of a laugh. But it's like, yeah, even that basic, simple things. Whereas for us, we could have a good laugh about it, and it was lovely. But for others, it would increase that level of alertness, level of arousal, which makes them much more sensitive to sensory input. And for some, again, that would tip them into, right, I've just got to go, or they can't cope so well with the experience, or they would choose not to go back, or
why I could not be a hairdresser, and it's for one reason only. Whenever I had my haircut at a hairdresser, which is 25 years ago plus, I would look at the state of the bloke who was doing my hair. I would look at his trousers, and they were utterly replete with lots of little tiny bits of hair. All I could think of was, that's got to be stabbing you. Every so often, some of that hair's got to stab you in the leg a bit. And that would drive me absolutely insane, to be constantly getting stabbed by hair all over the body, realizing that's not even my hair. That's somebody else's hair that's currently stabbing me. That is the one reason I could never consider being a hairdresser. Some parts of it I really like the idea of, actually, once upon a time. But that's the bit that would put me off, because I'm not bothered about all sorts of things. That one for me, I know would be an issue. If I've got a little bit of clothing or a bit of hard, I don't know, stitching or something, it's going to be removed very rapidly because I can't cope with it. It's about the only thing that would really, really wind me up. Possibly because I'm quite sensitive to what my body's doing, because I'm sort of artistic and stuff. But that's the one reason I couldn't do that.
And that kind of that was your visual system recognizing what it would do to your physical, um, interpreting that for you. But those that really have a problem with the hair are those that catch that it's the light hair when it is cut and it falls on the skin. Whereas for most of us, it doesn't affect us whatsoever. But if you've got, say, a short lad's haircut, and then you've got the hair that falls on the back of the neck, and that is just a nightmare. And that's one of the reasons for many that going and actually getting your hair cut is a nightmare. So we have to look at different ways. How can we protect the skin from that light touch experience of having hair fall on you or for having hair sit on you? They have those nice brushes for brushing things away, but it's that in between stopping the hair getting there in the first place. And especially if the weather's hot and sticky, that just makes it worse because the skin is likely to hold on to things unless we can prepare the skin. That's something else that we can do to help the experience of having a haircut and not having the short hair land on you. That's important to consider.
Because Joe was using an electric razor thing for me, I was happy. That's what our three boys grew up with until they said, I don't want hair like that. To which I said, that's great. You can pay for it yourself, or I could do it this way because it's all I know. I don't know how to use a pair of scissors to do fancy stuff. But we are very blessed because I did try. I didn't not ever do it, but it was like I had to use the electric shaver with some things you could buy that sort of grade the length of the hair and stuff. That was kind of my limit. But then Nathan, my middle son, has got such a steady hand and is willing to try. He cuts Peter's hair, my youngest son, and does a stunning job because he's got the real patience, which I don't have. He's got dexterity of a level that I can only dream of. I'm actually quite good at that anyway. But he just has this ability to keep going and cut neatly and tidily and cleanly. And then Peter's so happy with his longer hair, which I know I could never have done. All I want to do is get the shave and just like, it's off. That's the problem solved. You'd use less shampoo, quicker in the shower. Everything's good. But he prefers longer hair, which is absolutely fine. And he's older enough that he can make that sort of decision for himself now and has done for quite a long time. But for me, I like the short hair because I don't like having a hot head in the summer. I'd rather put a hat on than having hair, which I can't take off because that would be weird.
There you go. All of those sensory preferences that we each have. I have to say, I've got something on my Amazon site, on my website, sensoryhealthservices.com. If anybody wants to go and find something specifically for hairdressing, there are these lovely little clippers, but they're scissors because of the vibration. Going back to what we chatted about at the beginning, the vibration can be really off-putting for some. So what they've done, and obviously most people are used to having those kind of clippers and they have those different gradients to be able to cut well. But if you have scissors, you can buy these scissors that have those gradients attached to them. So you don't get the noise, you don't get the auditory, you don't get the frequencies, and you don't get the vibration. Yes, you still have the snip snip, but it's less than the vibration. And it's also got those gradients attached to the scissors so that you can actually cut it well and grade it in. If you haven't got the skills of an actual hairdresser,
which I do not possess.
No, neither do I.
At any level. The whole vibration thing. It's an interesting question. Why is it that if I've got I mean, it's basically it's an electric clipper. It goes on the hair. The teeth move. It creates a vibration, and that's on my head. Why is it that I find that so relaxing that I just want to go to sleep? Others might have that same sensation of that same vibrating hair cutting device on their head, and it would be horrible. Why the difference of reactions there?
It just depends on that processing. Your receptors are picking it up exactly the same. It's how your brain is interpreting that according to, I would imagine, most pathways between your auditory and your tactile receptors going to the brain. I imagine that's all probably working, but it's what is going on in the processing of that for the brain. And some will overreact and some underreact. There's lots of neurochemical threshold firing things that can be talked about as to, the tiny nuances of the way that processing happens in the brain. But it is effectively that is why everybody is so different. And we need to pay attention to those differences because one sensory stimulation for someone has that beautiful, beautiful calming effect. You do exactly that same thing to somebody else. Their brain interprets it totally differently and you get a different response.
You see, now the weighted blanket thing, I know a little bit about only because one of the hairdressers used to use a weighted thing to keep the cape thing in place. That's what it was there for, he said. And this is longer enough ago that I'm quite convinced it wasn't a weighted blanket so much as a way of stopping the cape falling on the floor, because it just was. But I just think, great, thanks ever so much. Now I've got extra weight on my shoulders. Are you done yet? Because it didn't do anything positive. It wasn't horrible, but just thought, this, get it off, because it's annoying, because I can't move quite so freely. So I didn't have any of the positives of the weighted thing on my shoulders. It wasn't unpleasant. There was nothing negative so much as, can you get it off now, because it's annoying. It's not irritating me ongoingly, sort of thing. But I just thought, get it off. It's annoying.
Brilliant. Such a good example. Again, it's just like so many questions you can ask. I'd love, again, as part of sometimes when you go somewhere, you have these questionnaires of things that you like and things that you don't like. I know if you go to a spa, I've just been to a spa, and you have to check off these things, and that's nice that they check these things. And you could do the same going into a salon. You know, do you want the weighted thing? Are you bothered by certain sounds, the hair dryer? You know, and tweak the experience according to somebody's sensory preferences. That would be much more high end, but it would be a lovely thing, because it's just a simple question. Do you actually want it on, or should I just use the cape that has a popper at the back instead, or whatever reasons why they have those weighted things, or what alternatives are there if you don't want something weighted, or if you do want something weighted. Yeah.
I think, to be fair, I would say they were not the opposite of high-end hairdressers that I went to. They were very functional gents hairdressers. You went and got your hair cut and left. That was it. There was no real experience, is how I would maybe word that. You arrived, got cut and done, and off you go again. Yes. They were just trying to get the money off you. And there was this irritating part in the middle, which is, I've got to cut your hair. Can I have the money now? But it was cheap, and it got the job done, and it's fine, until I got married, and then Joe did my hair for me, which I was much happy with, because I don't have to pay her.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
Right. Thank you, Anne. If you've got anything you want to put to Anne, you can do, or if you want to connect with her. She works on Jersey, but operates for a decade now. Pre-Zoom COVID times. Anne was already out there doing Zoom. So if you want to connect with her and get some help with your sensory health, yourself, your family, your school, your hairdresser salon, you can get hold of Anne. Pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org /ALJ. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. See you next time.